Hello，你好，欢迎回来。Welcome back to Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger and
Tibetan fun and real life.
Walla Walla. She used to ask me what Walla Walla mean, and I said, What do you mean Walla Walla? She said, Oh, that thing that you say in the beginning of your Wisdom Wednesday. I said, I don't say Walla Walla. 欢迎回来. I think she needs to get her ears checked.
Maybe
Anyway, it's August
second.
2nd. Yeah, thank you. Wednesday, 2023. Today we are going to sort of jump out of our usual a little bit. Uh, we are going to go from China to Tibet.
Oh.
Now, a lot of people don't really know much about Tibet. Tibet is one of those things that, when I say Tibet, a lot of you only really thinking about the Dalai Lama. Uh, but Tibet is an interesting place. It's like half Chinese, half India. It's a piece of land that is very contested between China and India. Uh, if you ask the Tibetans themselves, they want to be Indian more than they want to be Chinese. Uh, a lot of their religion, the religious practice, their uh, language, their culture, the customs are actually very similar to people from India uh, rather than from China. Although Chinese government insists that Tibet belong to China, and it's one of those historically contested issue like Mongolia. That's why there's Outer Mongolia and Inner Mongolia now. Part of it is China, the other part is independent. Uh, Tibet is one such place, and this is why Dalai Lama is in exile and being chased all over the world. Uh, Mostly it's because of all that political uh, rigmarole, or that political nonsense that Tibet get involved in. But if we set aside Tibet as a contested hotspot between India and China, if we just look at the place on its own merit, Tibet is a very spiritual place. Uh, it's very remote, very mountainous, very cold. Um, it has very scarce, very sparse population, villages here, villages there, but it has amazing looking Buddhist monasteries and temples, and a lot of uh, almost like 95% of people there are like Buddhist. Uh, so it is almost like a place out of time, a place that is not modernized, and it's still shrouded in a big blanket of mysticism and religious ecstasy and spirituality. Although it's kind of ironic that a lot of people in Taiwan, China, people all over the world, when they say they want a spiritual awakening, they want to soul search, they like to go to Tibet. They people have this idea that I'm going to go to Tibet and I'm going to discover myself. I'm going to discover my inner self. I'm going to find religion. I'm going to find true faith. Uh, well, I spoke to a Tibetan one time, and he said, it's so weird that you guys from other places think you can come here and become spiritual and faithful and discover your true calling. I've been living in Tibet for 40 years and I'm still just a normal guy. So yeah, I don't think that the mysticism is really there. And
Well
uh,
then.
Yeah, I think I think if you go to Tibet with the idea that you're going to find something mystical and magical, you might be pretty disappointed. But if you just go there looking for an experience to see something new, a very natural kind of place, something somewhere that is not big city, not civilized, and yeah, we have to mention the bad too. If you want to enjoy like freezing your butt off out there in the cold using the outhouse, and when you go pee, you have to bring a stick with you because as soon as you pee, that urine gets frozen to your genitals, and you have to take that stick and knock that piece of ice off your genital.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, okay, I don't know if that actually really happened. That's what my the Tibetan I talked to. That's what he told me. He said when it's so cold in the wintertime that when you pee, it literally turn to ice the moment it leaves your body. Yeah, so like if that is the kind of experience they're looking for, then I think you guys would enjoy going to that going to Tibet. Um, with that said, if you guys go to Tibet, you will find many strange things. Many strange things. And today we're going to talk about one of those. One of the most obvious sign that you will find that is really strange in Tibet is how the houses are built. You see, a lot of us, when we are walking into the door, we are used to, you open the door, you walk in. The door is usually 6, 7 feet tall, unless you're someone like Andre the Giant. You should not have much trouble walking through a door. Well, in Tibet, it's a little bit different. In Tibet, the houses are built sunken into the ground, so the doorway are very short. So when you get into the house, you actually have to bend down, duck down through the doorway, step down, and then you can stand up. Eh? So it's like they got houses built for regular people, but the doorways are built for midgets. So you have to duck down to get through those doors. Why is that? Right? Like a lot of people speculate that, oh well, it's Tibet, it's really cold, so maybe if you build the doorway small like that, then it keeps the heat in. Okay, no, maybe. And some people say, well, Tibet is very remote, right? There's a lot of wild animals, bears and wolves and stuff like that. So maybe you build the doorway small so wild animal can't get in. Yeah, I don't know you, but I don't know about that one, right? Like I think a pack of wolves is still going to come in even if that doorway is small. So no, the true reason why Tibet have small, short doorway houses that you actually have to step down into might surprise you. It's going to boggle your mind because the true reason is they are protecting their people against a kind of night creature they called Rolang. Rolang is a Tibet word. Rolang roughly translate like raw means weak, weakened, uh, debilitated. Lang means wolf, but this is not what it's actually saying. 弱狼 means, if you do a proper translation to Mandarin, is 起尸. What is 起尸? Well, 尸, we mentioned this before. 尸 means corpse. 起 means standing, walking. So in other words, 弱狼, aka 起尸, means walking, the walking dead,
Ah!
the zombie. Um, Now, when we talk about zombies, a lot of you are thinking, okay, so is it what we know here in the West when we watch The Walking Dead or the Biohazard, Resident Evil? Uh, Night of the Walking Dead is like that? Well, not quite, because most of the Walking Dead, the most of zombies in Western belief is like people who get exposed to some kind of virus, like Ebola virus or something like that. And that person dies, and then the virus reanimates the body, and the body go around biting people, and passing the virus on to more people. That is the Western zombie. Uh, in Chinese culture, we don't have that kind of zombie. In Chinese culture, we have 僵尸. 僵尸 means a stiff corpse. What 僵尸 is a corpse that somehow, maybe due to demonic influences or due to various natural causes, when you bury the corpse, it doesn't decay. The corpse will stay buried for years and years, and it stays fresh. It doesn't decay. And then one day it get up and start eating people. So the Chinese 僵尸 is actually a little bit closer to vampires, more closer to the Western vampires. Now 僵尸 and zombie, they are both similar but different, just like the Tibetan 起尸 or 弱狼, they are kind of similar but different. What a 起尸 or 弱狼 is a kind of walking dead that happens when the person who dies have unfinished business or too much hatred in their mind. So it is said that when that happens, your spirit refuses to leave this plane of existence, and your spirit start controlling the already dead body. And then, depending on what is that you are looking for, let's say a person who is frozen to death, and that happened a lot in Tibet. Yeah, really cold places. If you get lost out there in a snowstorm, you get frozen to death. A person who is frozen to death, when he dies or when she dies, they are craving heat and warmth. So their spirit will continue to control their body to break into people's houses, to eat people, to kill people, to get warm, to get into the houses to get warm, they will crave warm blood and warm flesh. If a person die of hunger, same thing. Their spirit refuse to depart until they're satisfied. So the spirit control the corpse, walk around when looking to eat people. Uh, why do they attack people? Why do they eat people? Well, because these spirits know that they are dead, and they are angry about it. They see that you are alive and they're dead, and they're not happy about that. So they decide to attack you. And just like the Western zombies in Tibet, uh, believe that when you get bitten by a 起尸, you will turn into another Walking Dead. Um, they also believe that 起尸 by nature, because they're dead body, they're corpses. So the spirit cannot control that dead body as good as when it was alive. So it, even though it can attack people, it's super strong. You can't kill it with a knife, or you can't shoot it with a gun and kill it. It has limitations. So the 起尸, this is where it's kind of different from vampires and zombies and the Chinese 僵尸. 起尸, they are not very nimble. So uh, one of the biggest disadvantage a qi have is it's unable to bend over. It's unable to hunch or bend down. This is why that they make their doorway so small. So if a real person want to go through the doorway, we duck down and we go in. But if it's a zombie, a 起尸, then it will just keep walking into the top of the door. It can't bend down, so it wouldn't be able to get into the house. Um, there, there has been many legends, stories, rumors of qi shi and it attacking people. Uh, a lot of it is linked back to how Tibetans believe that when you die, your body should be taken out to the top of the mountain and be fed to wild animals,
Oh my God.
kind of back to nature. You give your body back to the animal, back to Mother Nature when you die. But what a lot of people don't know is they don't take you out and dump you at the top of the mountain right after you die. There's a proper celebration of life, a funeral, and they have to keep your body around for a set amount of days before they take you out and dump you at the top of the mountain. And it is during this period that when corpses can suddenly turn into zombies, when the corpses are still on display, being viewed and stuff like that. Uh, One of the most common legends of one of the original incidences of Qi was several hundred years ago. There was a Buddhist monastery in Tibet. The head abbot of the monastery passed away. Now, in the religious belief in Tibet, if you are the head of a monastery, if you are the head priest or head abbot, the only way for you to be able, your spirit to be allowed to enter heaven or nirvana, or I don't know what like their equivalent of paradise is, for your spirit to go to the better place is for all the monks that you ruled over when you were alive, for all the monks to pray for you for 3 days and 3 nights. Uh, if every monk in your monastery pray for you, that means you were a true, holy, good person. So your spirit is allowed through the pearly gate or whatever equivalent that there is, so you can move on. If even one monk refused to pray for you for 3 days and 3 nights, then sorry, obviously you didn't please everybody. You're not as good as abbot as you should be. You go to hell. Okay, so this abbot passed away, and when he was alive, he was a really good person. He would treated every monk really, really generously, really good, really kind. So when he died, true to their custom, hundreds of monks in the monastery have to pray for him 3 days and 3 nights to send him on. Well, I don't know about you guys. Okay, I don't know how many of you guys try staying up for 3 days and 3 nights. When you're 18, it's not bad. I mean, it's bad, but when you get to a certain point, for me it was around like 28. Past 28, I can still do 1 day and 1 night, but after that I'm dead. There's no way, no way I'm going to be able to stay up 3 days, 3 nights. So, needless to say, these monks started praying, 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 praying. One day, first day, fine. First night, fine. Second day, oh, starting to get tired. Second night, really getting sleepy. By the third day, most of them started to fall asleep. And because of that, the poor abbot who relied on their prayer to go to heaven got rejected by heaven
Oh,
because you know your your followers did not fulfill the 3 day and 3 night requirement. Sorry, you got to go to hell. So this abbot, the spirit of this abbot, was very angry. When I was alive, I treated you guys like you were my children. You promised me you were going to pray for me 3 days and 3 nights, and now you screwed up when I really need you. Okay, you know what? If I can't go to heaven, I'm going to screw every one of you over too.
Ah.
So his spirit plopped back into his body and turned him into a 骑士, a zombie. And uh, when when the zombie jumped up, almost all the monks were asleep. They just prayed for like 2 days, 2 nights straight. Almost everyone fell asleep. The only one who was lucky was a younger monk. Like he was like 15, 16 years old. And like I said, when you're that young, 3 days, 3 nights is bad, but it's doable. So this young monk was the only person who saw the old abbot's corpse jump up and started to walk. And he was so scared, he didn't even want to make a sound. He really, what he should have done was wake everybody up. But he was so scared, he didn't want to draw the attention of the zombie. So what did he do? He ran out of the monastery and locked the door.
Mm.
So he was the only survivor. The young monk who ran away was the only survivor. He locked the door, and those hundreds of monks who were asleep all got bitten by the 骑士. So the entire monastery ended up filled with zombies. It wasn't until much later when another uh, monk came by and realized the entire monastery had fallen to evil that he brought in a bunch of holy monks and uh, people to do an exorcism to finally put this body to rest. But this was one of the oldest written record of a qi incident in Tibet, and it's still being talked about today. Um, Now, building your doorway small to prevent qi from getting into your house is a great idea, but a large part of Tibetan population are nomads. They sleep in tents. They don't have houses. They move from place to place depending on season, depending on their livestock. So for those people, this building small doorway doesn't work. So because of the fear of 骑士 attacking people at night, these nomads came up with two variations of uh, their burial, two variations of how to deal with the corpse. The first variation is as soon as the person is dead, they'll take the person out to the middle of nowhere and then leave the person there and tie the rope to the person's ankle and tie the other end of the rope to a tree. So either animals will come and eat the corpse, or if this person does turn into a 骑士, at least he's tied to a tree, not going to be able to wander around attacking people. Um, there's another famous legend around this kind of 骑士, like one that's tied to a tree too. Um, there was a very uh, famous scholar, professor in Tibet. Um, uh, he, when he was younger, he used to be a criminal. He used to be an outlaw. He was like a horse thief. He was a cattle thief and murderer and all that stuff. So the story goes that one day he was being pursued by a whole bunch of villagers that he pissed off because he stole their horses. So he rode like mad to get away from them, and finally he was able to lose them in all that wilderness. And he got off his horse, and he sat down at the foot of a tree to rest, and was about to take a drink of water when he realized that his horse was looking at him weird. And he's like, "What's the matter with you?" And the horse was like looking really scared and kept looking in his direction. So the guy turned around, and right behind the tree was a zombie, a dead person, totally naked, already decaying, tied to a tree at the ankle. There's a rope from tied onto the ankle. The other end of the rope is tied to the tree. The problem is maybe because it's been rainy weather, maybe because of the poor quality of the rope. The guy could see that the rope was starting to break and the zombie was about to get free. So he jumped onto his horse and got away. But just as he jumped on his horse, the zombie broke the rope and came after him. And so he rode like crazy, and the zombie chased him for hours. And then this guy, uh, going over a hill, he suddenly saw that there's a little campsite not far away, just a bunch of shepherds. So he did something that just not very nice. He led the zombie to the campsite, and then he rode away on his horse and let the zombie eat the shepherds. Uh, Later, it was said that he felt so bad about what he did. He felt so that what he did was so wrong that he decided to not be a criminal anymore, and he basically turned a new lease in life and became a scholar and a professor in Tibet. So this is just one of those legends involving corpse tied to a tree. Another way that the nomads came up with to deal with another way the nomads came up with to deal with corpses was if someone dies, the rest of the tribe will immediately leave. They'll take the tent, take the horses, take the livestock, and leave. And they'll just leave that dead person where they lay. So this way, even if it turned into a 起司, then it's not their problem. Yeah, kind of irresponsible, but you know, uh, it's one way that they do to protect themselves. Um, it wasn't until 30, 40 years ago that most of Tibet converted over to cremation. And if you ask them, why is it that you guys convert to cremation? Because to most Asian people, especially highly religious Buddhism, Taoism people, cremation is a no-no. Like you're not supposed to destroy the body. The body should be sacred. You need to bury it in the ground or give it back to nature, throw it in the river. You're not supposed to burn it. Tibetans will tell you they converted over to cremation because they got tired of being attacked by zombies. Now, to the rest of us, the idea of zombies and 起司 walking corpse sound totally ridiculous, especially if you're listening to this episode in the light of day. Uh, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's nice and sunny outside. This sounds like just another scary story that not really all that scary. Um, but when you really sit down and consider, if zombies are fabricated, if this is not true, how is it that they build their houses that way? How is it that even though they're super hardcore Buddhists, agree to cremate their dead? But obviously, something went on there, something happened that makes them really believe that these 起司, these zombies, existed. Believe it or not, I'll just leave it up to you guys. Hopefully you guys don't think too hard on it and give yourself nightmares. Uh, I think I'm going to go make my doorway a little bit shorter. We have a couple of zombie kitties in this house. Well, thank you guys for checking out today's spooky episode. We'll be back tomorrow for some Toys Thursday. For now, 谢谢 and 再见，
再见。
再见。